Want some more? Yummy. You got one? Hey YouTube, it's Tiani and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be discussing birth plans. So if you are pregnant, if you are about to give birth, if you're nervous and just don't know what to put on your birth plan, then this is the perfect video for you. I wrote up a birth plan for my son and for my daughter. So for both of my pregnancies, I did have a birth plan, but they were like pretty different. So I wrote a birth plan in 2023 for my son, and I wrote a birth plan for my daughter in 2024. Birth plans are really like essential. Like you actually need it. Anything can happen in the hospital. Oh my goodness. I'm gonna have to vacuum, but because y'all look. Yes, why did you do that? Uh-oh. And y'all see my daughter is just relaxing. Okay. Anything can happen in the hospital, honestly. I know a lot of people want to write up a birth plan because you guys have heard stories about like babies being switched out, or you know, doctors taking your child out the room, or you know, just anything. And it can be very scary. I know with my son, for my first pregnancy, I didn't know what to have on my birth plan, and that was nerve-wracking for me because the number one thing for me when I give birth is I want my kids in the room. I don't want my baby to ever leave the room. And I'm not talking about like if they need to go to the NICU. That's perfectly understandable. But more so for like shots or for their first bath. And for my babies, I don't do the first bath thing. You don't need a first bath. But that's probably the only opinion I'll give in this video. I'm not going to give any opinions on the first shots. I'm not going to give any opinion on, basically just not the shots, because I don't want to influence in the wrong way, or I just don't want to do that. So if you're worried about the shots, if you don't know if the shots are good or not, it's just something you have to research, which is what I did when I first made my birth plan, because I really didn't know what shots they were talking about, why they were good for the baby, things like that. But I will tell you I don't know if I'll even tell you if I gave my kids those shots when they're first born, because, you know, I don't want to influence you in a negative or positive way. I don't know. So, yeah, women these days, they mostly want a birth plan just so that things go right. Things go the right way that you want them to. One reason I'll tell you for me is because with my son, I gave birth at the place that my OBs were delivering at. So the doctors that gave me OB care, they delivered my baby, which was awesome. It was amazing because they knew my past medical history. They knew just all the care that I've been getting from there for 40 weeks. They knew what to do, which wasn't anything. I had 2 healthy pregnancies, so there wasn't a emergency C-section. My babies didn't go to the NICU. They were actually 40 weeks plus babies. So, but regardless, my OB doctor, he knew everything about me, so there was no surprises, nothing, you know. Okay. For my daughter, I did not give birth at the place that I was getting OB care from because one, it was just pretty far. It was like, 20-30 minutes from my house when my water broke. And 2, it was like 1 star out of 5, which I did not realize. Like the hospital was 1 star out of 5, and my mom actually brought that to my attention. I didn't realize that. So obviously I got really scared and I didn't want to give birth at that hospital where I was getting OB care at. So when it did come down to it, I gave birth at a random hospital with a random doctor, which is exactly why you need a birth plan, because you want them to know your name. You want them to know where you got OB care from. You want them to know who your support person is, who you want in the room with you. You want them to know what you do and don't want them to do with your babies, you know? So, on my birth plan, at the top, I wrote in like the most important stuff. You don't want your birth plan to be too long. Like, you don't want it to be too long. You don't want it to be too short. You don't want it to be too wordy. You just want it to be straight to the point. Come here. You want it to be straight to the point. And I'm inserting a picture so that you all can see it with me. At the top, I took out things in the birth plan. Like I said, all I put like what I wanted with the vaccines. Okay, I put if I didn't want a screening, or if I did want a screening for my newborn, because they do newborn screenings, newborn metabolic screenings, things like that. I put if I wanted my newborn to have the hearing test. I put on there where I wanted the newborn test to be done. So when the baby's born, they can either do the newborn test on your chest, so they're just checking the baby, things like that, when they're first born, or they can take it to the incubator, the heater, the heating little part that's in the room, or it can, well, it was in the room for my hospital, but they could either take the baby there or they could do it on your chest. Obviously, I wanted it on the chest because I did want golden hour. Golden hour is just the baby is with you on your chest, skin to skin, as soon as they're born. So for both my babies, I did want golden hour. And then I just put like all screenings and exams, if you want them, if you don't want them. I put my name, my significant other's name, my mother's name, because my mom was there with me for both my pregnancies. And I put my due date. Once again, this is like, if you don't give birth, you know where you put your due date on there so that they know. If I put the hospital that I was giving birth in, I put my doctor's name, like the OB doctors. And then just put your support person, and I put like previous birth. So I'm looking at my daughter's one, so the previous birth would have been 1 because of my son. So the first thing that I have on there is my baby will stay with me in the room at all times. So all procedures and checks need to be done in the room with me, and baby should not be taken out of my sight. When I first gave birth to my son, like, I was very nervous about my baby being taken out the room, you know, because once your baby's born, you get that mom instinct, you know. You don't want your baby to go anywhere. You don't want them to be with anyone you don't trust or you don't know. And I just think like it should be normal for you not to want your baby to go anywhere, you know. And I'm not talking about like if they need to be taken to the NICU, anything like that. I'm not talking about that. But if your baby doesn't need to be taken to the NICU, you know, which is my situation, I just didn't want them out the room. The second one I have on there is what are my preferences for the atmosphere. I said I would like limited staff. So what are my preferences for the atmosphere? I said I would like limited staff, no students, no interns the entire time. 2, when my baby is born, I do not want random staff running into the room to look at my baby. This happened my first birth and caused a lot of stress on me and baby. So yeah, I said I don't want no students, no interns the entire time, because when I gave birth to my son, there was like 2 people in there, you know, that would come in, you know, check me, the doctor or like the nurse. And then when I gave birth, like there was like 5, you know, random nurses like that were just on call who came in to just look at my baby. And like when you're in the hospital giving birth, you'll hear a lot where nurses, you know, run to the room if there's like, you know, a cute baby or like a heavy like a chubby baby, you know, things like that, which is sweet and all that. But for me, I just wanted time with my baby. I didn't want anyone random in the room, which there was like random people in the room for my son. And that's because I didn't put that on my birth plan. I didn't know that there would be random nurses just running in just to look at my baby. You know, because with my son, they put him on the scale to like weigh him and stuff like that. And there was just random nurses, you know, talking to him, touching him. And I'm like, I didn't get that time with my baby, like my golden hour. I didn't get that with him because there were random people that wanted to, you know, talk to my baby first or like touch my baby first. So I made sure I put that on here for my daughter, that I didn't want random people coming in just to look at how much my baby weighs and, you know, just random things like that. So if you do want people to come in, you know, and you don't mind that, don't write that. If you don't want that, you want that special time with your baby, write that on there. The third thing I have on there is what is my preference for monitoring the baby. I said I would like monitoring only if the baby is in distress. And then what is your preferences during the first stage of labor? Like I would like to walk around or move around if need be. What is your preference for pain management during labor? I would like to be offered the epidural. I did get an epidural for both of my pregnancies. I made it to 5 centimeters with both of them, and then I just got the epidural because there's no award for not getting the epidural, you know? What are your preferences for labor augmentation? I said performed only if baby is in distress. What method do you plan to give birth? Of course, like I put vagina, but that's not always, like, it doesn't always go as planned, you know? Of course, like, I did give birth that way, but sometimes you do have emergency C-sections. Sometimes, like, you just don't. You're just putting that on there, you know, just to have it on there. What are your preferences for giving birth? I would like to be coached on when to push. Yeah, I was coached, like, when to push for both of my pregnancies. I don't know any other way. I think doctors usually do that. Or if you just feel like you need to push, then push. But in order to not tear, I definitely wanted the doctors to tell me when to push, when not to push, you know. So you want to push when you feel a contraction. If you get the epidural, you don't always feel the contractions. And sometimes you don't feel them at all. My preferences for the following: unless necessary, I do not want to use forceps. Unless necessary, I do not want to use the vacuum extraction. That's just like when your baby's coming out. Those are your preferences for that. If a C-section is necessary, these are my preferences. I would like my partner to remain with me the entire time. I would like to make sure other options have been exhausted. I would like a second opinion, and I would like my hands left free so I can touch my baby. If you don't have that on there, how will the doctors know that you want to touch your baby? You want your partner in the room with you. You want your mom in the room with you. How will the doctors know, you know? So that's why it's really important just to put those type of things on your birth plan. And then, like, number 5, I would like to stay conscious, you know, things like that. Do you want to be given pitocin or oxytocin? These are things that can induce your labor. So for my daughter, you know, I said only if necessary. I want to use pitocin, but I want a natural birth without being induced. So she did come on her own. My son, I was induced at 40 weeks and 6 days. But for my daughters, my water broke. And since I had, like, it got to be, like, 10 hours into my birth, into my labor for my daughter. The nurse did offer me pitocin because I was progressing, but I stayed at 9 centimeters for a very long time, maybe 2 hours, maybe an hour and like 50, an hour and 30. So when it got to, since I was like at 9 centimeters for so long, the nurse offered me pitocin, but obviously like I denied it because I didn't want to, you know, I didn't want any drugs or anything. I wanted to give birth to her just natural. I didn't want to be induced, nothing like that. When do you want to hold your baby? I want skin-to-skin contact right after delivery. I hope y'all can hear me. I want, my baby does not receive a bath, and height and weight check are fine to be recorded. So, yeah, like I said, I did want skin-to-skin with both my children. I don't do the bath, and the height and weight were fine to be recorded. After like my golden hour, after skin to skin was done. My preferences for the umbilical cord, I would like the umbilical cord cut. I didn't have any plans. I didn't have any plans to like keep the umbilical cord on there long, anything like that. I didn't have any preferences with that. For my first pregnancy, my boyfriend cut the umbilical cord. For my daughter, my mom cut the umbilical cord. And I have a video of it, which is so, like, it's amazing. Yeah. I did not want to cut the umbilical cord at all. Because that's just, I don't know. I couldn't do that. My preferences for the placenta, I would like the placenta discarded. You can either, I don't know the routine with, like, keeping it. But I did not want my placenta. It is, like, so heavy. It's so big, y'all. Like, the doctor actually, my son, I did not want to see it, and for my daughter, I didn't want to see it, but my doctor, the doctor that I had, and she was amazing, who delivered her, she showed me, and it's like huge, it's like heavy, and it's insane. It's like literally 5 pounds on top of your baby's weight, but it looked cool, but I didn't want to keep it. If you want to keep it, you can have that on your birth plan. I don't know how they go about it, but I know that I did not want it. Do you plan to breastfeed your baby? I do breastfeed my daughter, so obviously I had on there that I do plan to breastfeed her. If you don't plan to breastfeed your baby, they'll just, once your baby's born, they'll give you formula, or like formula that's already made to give your baby. And then I have again that my baby will stay with me in the room at all times. With my son, I did have that on my birth plan that he will stay in the room. There were nurses that did want to take him out like in the middle of the night just to check, just to give him like to prick his foot, you know, check the newborn screening. And I just had to remind them that I did want him to stay in the room with me at all times. For my daughter, there wasn't any incidents or any nurses that tried to take her out the room. So yeah. My preferences for my baby's medical exam, I said given in my presence, given only after we bonded, and given in my support people's presence. What do I want to include in my baby's examination? I'm not gonna put what I decided because I don't want to influence anyone in a negative or bad way. So like that includes like vaccines or like the heel stick procedure. I said please do not give my baby a certain thing. And you know, I put on there things I prefer, which are the golden hour and a delayed bath. So yeah, that is all the things that I had on my birth plan. So hopefully this helped you guys. I know when I was first writing, wait, can I see that real quick? Wait, can I see it? You want me to take the ball out? You don't want me to take it out? I can't get it out. can't get it out. Yeah, when I was first writing my birth plan for my son, I was obviously very nervous. Like, I didn't know what to put on there. But I found, like, a little birth plan online. I didn't know a lot of the things that it said on there, so I just had to do research. And I edited it, and that's what I used for him. And then after I gave birth to him, I was more knowledgeable on what goes down in the hospital delivery room, so I was able to edit a lot more with her. But altogether, I had 2 really good pregnancies, 2 really good delivery stories, and I can say it was most likely because of my birth plan, you know, and just ensuring that, you know, they know what I want and things like that, because that's really important, especially if you're on drugs. If you're, like, not on drugs, but if you're have the epidural or you get induced, that's a lot of drugs going into your vein. And if you're not really aware of what's going on, they'll have your birth plan so that they know what you want and things like that. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. I know it was kind of loud because my son was playing like a baby should play. But I really hope that this helped you guys. I'll try to put it like in my description, the things that I had on my birth plan, so you'll be able to write yours or type yours up the way that you want it done. And yeah, I will see y'all in my next video, and have a blessed day. Bye, y'all.